Hi everyone, let's paint together today this small but still so beautiful 15 centimeters mandala dandelion. And if you wanna learn more and bigger pieces, you can find on my Patreon channel and link in the description box below this video. So let's start it. First of all, I wanna create with these beautiful colors and everything that inspiration coming from the nature. So first of all, I want to use these three, but this one also kind of in harmony with these colors. You also can create this with white one or this green one with this, mixing these two. So don't stop yourself if you don't have enough colors. Also, white color will be used because dandelions and the end becoming really white. So that's why I want to mix all these colors. And also I got these 2 3D drops. I will use art creation, but also with Nova, I believe there are the same colors or similar. So you need the pearl white or and yellow. And I'm waiting for my order, but for now, let's paint with these ones. So we need to find the center of mandala. I will link video with all instructions, or you can find something on internet. So we technically doing 2 segments, perpendiculars, and find the center. And once we found the center, we are making one line. Every 1 centimeter I will create circles. And if we are talking about the lines, I will use this tool and every 15 degrees making lines, not too often, not too rare. So it's really up to you how you making your marks. Too many marks also can be confusing, especially at the center where a lot of small spaces, and sometimes it's difficult to fit. But at the end, it's up to you. With this tutorial, it's 15 degrees, as I said, and making circles every 1 centimeter. Once it's done, we can start with our tutorial. And as I said, I didn't create custom colors, but you can do yourself. If you don't have enough green colors or even yellow, you can use only one and add a little bit white color and create a custom color. So jewel green, the central part, because I was inspired how these beautiful flowers yellow on the green. So I decided to do really big central part and put 3D drops later on the top when everything dry out. And still you can do not so dark green, for example. It's really up to you. After that, I will create obviously small dots around this one. And interestingly enough, in nature, these heads of this flower is so like on a green field, so beautiful. So I believe small dots really looks really nice. I'm not using the spots, but technically if you can fit in a spot, you can do between the lines. The color I'm using is sour apple. All materials in description as usual. And I'm trying to pop in every spot close enough to the central dots and to each other, but not touching each other. I believe you already know this secret with mandala painting, when we are trying to fit as much dot as we can, but not touching each other. Like that. Really beautiful. And the next one, I will try to do between my dots that we just created on the lines, like that. The color I'm using is Paradise Green, really beautiful. But as I said, you can create a custom color with, for example, the color that you are used for the central part by adding a little bit white, for example. And the same way, as close as you can, but not touching each other. Also, you can do smaller dots, and when everything dry out and you kinda on a safe space, you can add a little bit more paint on the top of a dot. This is one of the tips how we can create dots a little bit bigger and looking like popping out from the surface. Bright yellow, the next one. So especially with this color, it's a little bit, I'm not sure how to describe it, on a liquid side. So I'm trying to be careful with this one. Still bright yellow as I need. So I'm putting my dots on the spots, as you see on the video, between lines and inside of our circle line. And as you see, I'm doing like small bits, small dots, with a little bit space between. But after that, I may come back and add a little bit more paint on a dot. Of course, we're still pretty careful to not mess up with already created dots. But again, as you see already, it's like so like it's in nature, how these yellow heads on the green fields looking at us. It's really beautiful. And I believe this small mandala can show how even small piece could be so beautiful, so full of details. Like that. It's much better now. And sorry for my voice, I'm getting over a little bit of flu. And the next row I will create with the same color that I did for the central one, jewel green. I'm putting this on the lines you see on the video between my previous dots, but it is really, it depends how big you created your dots. It could be a little bit on a line, a little bit below or up line. Just look at your custom painting and create your own piece of art. Use this just a tutorial. Like that, really beautiful. And we will add much more details later on. But for now, let's go on this circle, next circle line, and cross with lines. We are putting our paradise green color on every second line. I'm doing these dots pretty big, so a lot of paint, so these dots will be visible. When everything dry out, we can put like more paint on the top with another color or 3D drops. Also, remember that you can, if you don't have, for example, yellow 3D drops, it's not so common color, you can create with yourself by adding green color into the white 3D drops, or by you can use yellow paint. So don't stop yourself just only because you don't have yellow 3D drops. So moving forward, let's walk around these dots we just created. And I'm doing like this a little bit fancy way. So I'm using for this central dot on the top. You see on the video, it's like inside of next circle line. And I'm using primary yellow. So another tone of yellow. If you do have only one yellow, you can use only one yellow. And I'm walking around with a smaller tool and with bright yellow, just to add a little bit another tone of yellow. And I'm not touching at the end my green dots. Just be careful. Like that, walking around. Yes, it's taking your time, but at the same time, this giving you great result at the end, because the idea this also will symbolize this a lot of yellow heads on green grass when this beautiful spring flowers blooming. So it's kind of makes sense to do these yellow dots all around. And remember, you can put something on the top only when first layer of paint dry out to avoid any disruption. And let's move forward. So I want to add a little bit greenish. Again, I'm going with sour apple. I want to do small strokes around these flowers. You need small brush. You see, this one a little bit longer. Let's try with shorter one. A shorter is around 1 centimeter length. I'm starting with this between these circle lines, and I'm not going to much inside between the flowers. And you see, you can't with such short brush can create too long strokes. That's why I'm trying, but I'm deciding to go with the longer brush. Longer, it's maybe 1.5 centimeters. And you see, it's immediately working better. So it really depends. If you want a longer strokes, you need a longer brush. So as you see, I'm starting with strokes in the middle between two circle lines. And I'm doing this from both sides of line, like that. And I'm not going too deep between dots. It's more like create small lines. I'm releasing brush somewhere in the middle between this green with yellow dots which we just created. So top of these strokes really adding this greenish color to our painting, but not messing with yellow dots we just created. Like that. So moving forward, I want to give some space because I want to create bigger flowers later on. So on this circle line, I will create really big dots. I decided to go with 10 millimeters. And between our flowers, every second line, I will use bright yellow, as you see on the video, really big ones. But it's kind of again symbolizing our flower that we trying to recreate. So it makes sense. And we again will put more on the top later on when everything is out. So what we are doing, we are every second line between previous, let's call it flowers, on second from an angle line, circle line. I'm leaving enough bright yellow on every dot, so this will be visible. Yellow color amazingly working on a black base. You see already, I believe, like that. Especially when white marks will be removed at the end, this will be really bright. Like that. So next, be pretty careful until it's wet, obviously. I wanna play with white color. Usually I'm not doing this, but you can if you want, obviously. So I will walk around these big dots. You can do this with a tool. You don't need to use brush. But to be honest, with strokes, it's much faster. It's much faster. Sorry. I'm starting from this line and I'm going around. Until you handle the strokes, you can use a brush tools, like I'm doing this on a video now. But to be honest, once you handle strokes, it's so much easier to work with brush. But again, really up to you. I'm leaving some space on the top between these white strokes, smooshes. So let's try with a small brush. It's much faster and easier, to be honest with you. So if we are talking about the secret, how to work with brush and create the strokes, it's just a lot about practice. There are no other advice. Like with all other skills, we need to practice. Plus, your arm should be stable on a table. This is so much helpful, especially you are creating different angles, big strokes or really thin, careful strokes. Let's call it this way. You need to put your arm on a table, stabilize this, and from this point it will be much easier to create nice strokes. It's kind of working with all tools, but with brush it's especially important. Like that. So next one, I will go around and I will go with bright yellow again, and absolutely the same way, as close as you can. I'm not going too far, you see, it's more like around these big yellow dots we just created, and just walking around with our strokes. Yeah, I truly believe once we handle strokes, we can do our painting much faster. But until you handle this, obviously, you can use tools. Totally up to you. No judgment from my side, definitely. And again, we got some space between flowers, so let's create also strokes with primary yellow. So primary yellow a little bit brighter, a little bit more maybe on the orange side. Like that. Again, it really depends how did you create your strokes. It could be that it's not enough space for second one. So totally, again, up to you, up to your custom painting. It shouldn't be like exactly like my piece of art. It should be your own piece of art. You can experiment, obviously. And I'm only happy with this if you are using this as a tutorial and after that jumping in and created your own piece of art. like that. Beautiful. Let's move forward, but before we need to create maybe a little bit more this on the top, on the angle of mandala. We got some space, so I'm doing 2 dots from both sides of line you see on the video with primary yellow. If you can fit or can't fit 2, you can fit 1. I got space for 2, and a really interesting look at this. Usually we are not placing 2, but really nice and interesting. And obviously you can fit 3 if you want to, if you got enough space for this. You also can use smaller or bigger tool. It's really up to you. Do experiment. We still got some space, so what I want to do with with Paradise Green and small brush, I will create 2 strokes like that to play with this space and add a little bit more greenish on the top. So starting from these 2 spots and go towards between our flowers. Like that, just small strokes. Again, you can do the same with the tool. Because it's so small, you can create smooshes. And the last one. So it's ready. We need to wait until everything dry out, and after that we can come back and put more on the top. You can see over there I already put some more paint on the top using the same tools and the same colors. On the central one, as I said, I wanna put this with 3 drops yellow color, materials in description, as I said, really big one, symbolizing these beautiful flowers, symbolizing the spring season. You may use just a paint. If you can't find 3 drops yellow color, you can use paint. This will be still really amazing. Just put maybe 12 millimeters dot on the top. As you see, I just help a little bit the tool to walk around and make this nice shape of central dot. So I want to add a little bit white with the smallest tool you can find, 1, maybe even half millimeter. And our white color, I'm putting small dots on this spot between our dark green dots. Reminding this was jewel green color. And look how by putting this really small tiny white dot, how this lighting up this area, because white color is so bright, this perfectly working for us. Like that. Look at it. It's really nice. And with white 3 drops, I want to add small dots on this spot between our bigger green dots, like on a base on our strokes. You can see on the video. And again, this really like popping out from the surface, this area. The next step, yellow dots. You can use just yellow color paint. This will perfectly work for you. So I'm putting 3 drops because I got one, yellow one. Small dots on the top of this green. Dots that we did with Paradise Green. Really nice, really beautiful. Like small details, like working for us. With white one, I'm putting, as you see, below these big yellow dots, and with tool I'm dragging tails towards the center. You can put all of those. Again, I'm using pearl white. You can use white or light shell, for example, color. So what you can find, this will work for you. And with thin tool, sometimes I'm using even needle, I'm dragging tails towards the center in this space between these lower flowers. Like that, like a base for these flowers. Look at this, how amazing it is. The next one, I want to add some, with small brush, strokes. And I will use the same color we did, the central one, jewel green. And I'm technically making like small strokes. You see, with small brush, it's working, but if you can find a little bit bigger brush, this will be better. Look how it is. So we got a spot between 2 lines, and technically we are doing 2 strokes going around this white 3D drop we just created and moving towards the center. I'm trying not to touch my fresh white 3D drops with tails we just created. If you worry that you can mess up, wait until everything dries out and do this after that. You don't need to rush. If you're already kind of sure in your movements, you can do this straight away like I'm doing. But you don't need to rush. Remember about that. Enjoy the process and don't worry about that you need to create this in 1 hour or 1 day or something like that. Take your time and enjoy the process, obviously. Look how beautiful it is. It's more and more looks like filled with these beautiful flowers. These spots, obviously it looks like we need to add something, but I'm waiting to finish because I'm not sure what the color I want to put over there. So on the top of these yellow ones, because I got another tone of primary yellow, I'm putting dots like that on the center. So I'm kind of playing with the shades of the yellow. You can, if you got only 1 yellow color, you can create custom color or put 3D drop. Even in this particular case, if you can put white, still will be good. But I'm suggesting if you got only 1 yellow color, create a custom color by adding a little bit, just a drop of white, for example. This will be giving you a shade and make you mandala more detailed, and overall this will be looks like more complex painting. So we technically don't need too many paints to make this works. We can use small tricks. So next we got some spots over there. Because I got a really small spot, as you see, I'm putting like really tiny small 3D drop on the top, and this small detail like really making it really nice. Look at this. If you don't have space, leave it without this. It's something additional. With white one, I put in over there, small one, over there, and over there. Again, really tiny, small one, and this is like walking. It's just like, it's so nice and beautiful. And look at this, it's just small details, like making this much more interesting. Sorry if you can hear the voices from the outside of the building. It's summer now, or almost summer. And small yellow one over there. You can go this with yellow paint, for example. Still will be like really beautiful. And that's all. Congratulations. Hope you enjoyed your painting. This is small, beautiful mandala. If you want to look for a bigger pieces, you can look my YouTube channel or my Patreon channel. A lot of tutorials on Patreon free for my channel members. So see you on next video. Bye.